The chained mother dog gave birth in a mud pit, and when the puppies were discovered covered in mud, something heart-wrenching happened. The insistent ringing of the phone pierced through the quiet of the late-night hours. Eleanor, a woman in her late 60s with a heart as warm as her cozy farmhouse kitchen, stirred in her sleep. She fumbled for the receiver, her mind still foggy with dreams. "Hello?" she mumbled, her voice thick with sleep. "Eleanor? It's me, Sarah, from the shelter. I'm so sorry to call this late, but we have an emergency." Eleanor sat up, instantly alert. Sarah's voice was laced with urgency, and Eleanor knew it must be something serious. She had been volunteering at the local animal shelter for years, and Sarah, the shelter manager, knew she could always count on Eleanor, especially when it came to dogs. "What is it, dear?" Eleanor asked, her concern growing. "We got a call about a dog, a chained mother dog. She just gave birth in a mud pit. The conditions are horrendous. The owner, well, let's just say he's not interested in the welfare of the animals. We need to get her and her puppies out of there." Eleanor's heart sank. She had seen her fair share of neglect and cruelty over the years, but the image of a mother dog giving birth in such squalor was particularly distressing. "Where is she?" Eleanor asked, already reaching for her robe. "It's about a 3-hour drive from here," Sarah explained, "out near Willow Creek. I know it's a lot to ask, but don't worry, Sarah. I'll go." Eleanor interrupted, her voice firm with determination. "Give me the address. I'll leave right away." Eleanor was a woman of action, a widow for the past 10 years. She had found solace in caring for animals, her kind heart always open to those in need. She had a particular soft spot for dogs. Ever since her childhood companion, a scruffy terrier named Rusty, had filled her days with joy. Within minutes, Eleanor was dressed and heading out the door. The cool night air hit her face as she climbed into her trusty pickup truck, a vehicle that had seen countless trips to the shelter and back. She set off into the darkness, the address Sarah had given her etched in her mind. The drive was long and lonely, the only sounds the hum of her truck's engine and the occasional hoot of an owl. But Eleanor's mind was racing. She imagined the poor mother dog, struggling to care for her newborns in such terrible conditions. She thought of the tiny puppies, vulnerable and exposed to the elements. A wave of anger washed over her, directed at the owner who could be so heartless. As she neared Willow Creek, the first rays of dawn began to paint the sky with streaks of pink and orange. Eleanor followed the directions Sarah had given her, turning onto a dirt road that led to a dilapidated farmhouse. The sight that greeted her made her stomach churn. The dog, a German Shepherd mix with matted fur and sorrowful eyes, was chained to a post in the backyard. The chain was short, barely allowing her to move. At her feet, in a muddy pit that reeked of filth, lay a pile of squirming puppies. They were covered in mud, their tiny bodies shivering in the morning chill. Eleanor's heart ached. She approached the dog cautiously, speaking in a soft, soothing voice. The dog flinched at first, her body tense with fear. But as Eleanor continued to speak, offering words of comfort and reassurance, the dog slowly relaxed. She even wagged her tail weakly, a flicker of hope in her sad eyes. Eleanor knew she had to act quickly. She retrieved a pair of bolt cutters from her truck and, with a few swift snips, severed the chain that had bound the dog for who knows how long. The dog looked at her with a mixture of disbelief and gratitude. Carefully, Eleanor gathered the puppies one by one, wrapping them in a warm blanket she had brought with her. The mother dog watched her every move, her eyes filled with trust. "It's okay, girl," Eleanor whispered, stroking the dog's head. "You're safe now." With the puppies secured in a crate in the back of her truck, Eleanor coaxed the mother dog into the passenger seat. As they drove away from the desolate farm, Eleanor glanced in the rearview mirror. The sun was rising, casting a golden glow over the countryside. It was a new day, a new beginning for the rescued dog and her puppies, and Eleanor, with a heart full of compassion, was ready to help them on their journey to a better life. The journey back to Eleanor's farmhouse was a quiet one. The mother dog, whom Eleanor had tentatively named Hope, sat beside her, occasionally glancing at her with an expression that was a mixture of apprehension and gratitude. The puppies, nestled in their crate in the back, had fallen asleep, exhausted from their ordeal. Eleanor's mind was buzzing with thoughts. She had rescued countless animals over the years, but there was something about Hope's situation that had touched her deeply. Perhaps it was the sheer desperation of the scene, the mother dog giving birth in such squalor, or maybe it was the look in Hope's eyes, a look that spoke of years of neglect and loneliness. As they pulled into the driveway of her farmhouse, Eleanor felt a sense of relief wash over her. Her home, a rambling two-story structure with a wide porch and a sprawling backyard, had always been a haven for animals. Over the years, she had taken in stray cats, injured birds, and abandoned dogs, nursing them back to health and finding them loving homes. She carefully carried the crate of puppies inside, setting it down in the warm, cozy living room. Hope followed close behind, her tail tucked between her legs, her eyes darting around nervously. "It's okay, girl," Eleanor reassured her, her voice gentle. "This is your new home. You're safe here." Eleanor led Hope to the kitchen, where she had prepared a makeshift bed for her. She filled a bowl with fresh water and another with some cooked chicken and rice. Hope hesitated at first, as if unsure whether to trust this sudden abundance of food. But hunger soon overcame her caution, and she devoured the meal with gusto. While Hope ate, Eleanor examined the puppies. They were all small and frail, their fur matted with mud. She carefully cleaned them with warm water and a soft towel, revealing a litter of 6 adorable puppies, 4 females and 2 males. Over the next few days, Eleanor's life revolved around caring for Hope and her puppies. She fed them regularly, cleaned their bedding, and made sure they were warm and comfortable. She spent hours just watching them, marveling at their resilience and their growing strength. Hope, too, was slowly starting to come out of her shell. She had initially been timid and withdrawn, flinching at sudden movements and cowering when Eleanor approached. But with patience and gentle encouragement, Eleanor began to gain her trust. One afternoon, as Eleanor sat on the floor playing with the puppies, Hope tentatively approached her, nudging her hand with her nose. Eleanor looked up and their eyes met. In that moment, a bond was formed, a connection that transcended words. As the days turned into weeks, Hope blossomed under Eleanor's care. Her fur, once dull and matted, became shiny and sleek. Her eyes, once filled with sadness, now sparkled with life. She began to wag her tail constantly, her whole body radiating joy. She also proved to be an excellent mother, fiercely protective of her puppies. She would spend hours nursing them, cleaning them, and playing with them. She would even gently discipline them when they got too rambunctious, a low growl or a nudge with her nose enough to bring them back in line. Eleanor watched with a sense of satisfaction as the puppies grew bigger and stronger. They were now starting to explore their surroundings, their tiny paws pattering across the floor. They would tumble over each other, playfully nipping at each other's ears and tails. Their antics filled the farmhouse with laughter and joy. One evening, as Eleanor sat on the porch watching the sunset, Hope came and sat beside her, resting her head on Eleanor's lap. Eleanor stroked her fur, feeling a deep sense of contentment. She had given Hope a second chance at life, and in return, Hope had given her something priceless, unconditional love and companionship. But Eleanor knew that this idyllic situation couldn't last forever. The puppies would soon be old enough to be adopted, and Hope would need to find a permanent home of her own. The thought of parting with them brought a pang of sadness to her heart, but she knew it was for the best. She had given them a safe haven, a place to heal and grow. Now it was time for them to move on to their forever families, where they would continue to receive the love and care they deserved. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of activity. The puppies, now weaned and full of energy, turned Eleanor's peaceful farmhouse into a lively playground. They chased each other through the rooms, wrestled in the garden, and explored every nook and cranny with boundless curiosity. Eleanor, despite her age, found herself caught up in their infectious enthusiasm, her days filled with laughter and playful chaos. She named the puppies, each name reflecting their unique personalities. Daisy, the sweet and gentle one. Buddy, the boisterous and playful one. Lily, the shy and observant one. Rusty, the adventurous and mischievous one, named in honor of her childhood dog. Molly, the cuddly and affectionate one. And Max, the independent and curious one. As the puppies grew, so did the need to find them loving homes. Eleanor contacted the local shelter and placed ads in the newspaper and online. Soon, her phone was ringing off the hook with inquiries from potential adopters. Eleanor was meticulous in screening potential families. She wanted to make sure that each puppy went to a home where they would be cherished and well cared for. She visited each home, met the families, and asked countless questions. She wanted to be sure that each puppy was a perfect fit. One by one, the puppies found their forever homes. Daisy went to a young couple with a spacious backyard and a love of long walks. Buddy was adopted by a family with 2 energetic children who were thrilled to have a new playmate. Lily found a home with an elderly woman who was looking for a quiet companion. Rusty, true to his name, went to a family with a farm where he could run and explore to his heart's content. Molly was chosen by a family with a teenage girl who had always wanted a dog to cuddle with. And Max, the independent one, found a home with a single man who lived in a small apartment but loved to take his dog on hikes in the nearby mountains. Each parting was bittersweet for Eleanor. She had grown attached to each of the puppies, and it was hard to say goodbye. But she knew that she had done her job, that she had given them the best possible start in life. And she took comfort in knowing that they were all going to loving homes. With the puppies gone, a strange quiet descended upon the farmhouse. Eleanor missed their playful energy and their constant demands for attention. But she still had Hope, who had become her constant companion. Hope had blossomed in Eleanor's care. She was no longer the timid, fearful dog who had arrived at the farm weeks ago. She was now confident and affectionate, her tail wagging constantly, her eyes shining with happiness. She followed Eleanor everywhere, her devotion unwavering. They went for long walks in the woods, Hope running ahead, sniffing at every tree and chasing squirrels. They spent evenings curled up by the fireplace, Hope resting her head on Eleanor's lap, content just to be near her. Eleanor knew, however, that Hope needed more than just her companionship. She needed a family of her own, a place where she could truly belong. But finding the right home for Hope was proving to be more challenging than Eleanor had anticipated. Many people were interested in adopting a puppy, but an adult dog, especially one with an unknown past, was a harder sell. Some people were put off by Hope's size and strength. Others were worried about her potentially having behavioral issues due to her past neglect. Eleanor refused to give up. She continued to screen potential adopters, hoping to find the perfect match for Hope. She knew that somewhere out there was a family who would see beyond Hope's past and recognize the loving, loyal dog she truly was. One crisp autumn afternoon, a letter arrived in Eleanor's mailbox that would change everything. It was from a woman named Margaret living in a nearby town, expressing interest in adopting Hope. Margaret described herself as a retired teacher who had recently lost her beloved golden retriever. She had a large, fenced-in yard and lived a quiet life, longing for the companionship of another dog. Eleanor was immediately drawn to the warmth and sincerity in Margaret's letter. She called Margaret that evening, and they spoke for over an hour. Margaret's love for dogs was evident in every word, and her gentle, patient nature seemed like a perfect fit for Hope. They arranged to meet the following weekend at Eleanor's farm. The meeting went even better than Eleanor had hoped. Margaret was a kind, compassionate woman with a calm demeanor that immediately put Hope at ease. Hope, usually wary of strangers, warmed up to Margaret quickly, wagging her tail and leaning into her for gentle strokes. They took a long walk together through the woods, and Eleanor watched with a smile as Hope trotted happily beside Margaret, exploring the trails with a newfound sense of freedom. By the end of the visit, Eleanor knew in her heart that Margaret was the perfect person to give Hope a forever home. There were tears in her eyes as she hugged Hope goodbye, but they were tears of joy, knowing that Hope was finally going to a place where she would be loved and cherished. Margaret promised to keep in touch and send updates, and Eleanor felt a sense of peace as she watched them drive away. The farmhouse felt strangely empty without hope, but Eleanor knew she had made the right decision. The following weeks were a period of adjustment for Eleanor. She missed Hope's presence, the comforting weight of her head on her lap in the evenings, the joyful greeting she received every morning. But she kept busy with her other animals, the chickens, the barn cat, and a pair of rescued rabbits that had recently taken up residence in her garden shed. She also threw herself into her volunteer work at the animal shelter, spending more time than ever helping to care for the abandoned and neglected animals. She found solace in knowing that she was making a difference in their lives, even if it was just a temporary respite from their hardships. One day, while cleaning cages at the shelter, Eleanor came across a small, shivering dog huddled in the corner. He was a scruffy terrier mix, with big, brown eyes and a timid demeanor. He reminded her of Rusty, her childhood companion, and her heart went out to him. She learned that the dog had been found abandoned in a park, thin and frightened. He was estimated to be about a year old and had clearly been mistreated. He flinched at sudden movements and cowered when anyone approached. Eleanor felt a familiar tug at her heartstrings. She couldn't bear to leave him there, alone and scared. She decided to foster him, hoping to give him a safe haven and help him regain his trust in humans. She named him Charlie, and he quickly became a fixture in her life. He was a gentle soul, grateful for every kindness, every gentle touch. He followed Eleanor everywhere, his tail wagging tentatively, his eyes filled with adoration. Charlie's arrival brought a renewed sense of purpose to Eleanor's life. She dedicated herself to his rehabilitation, patiently working to overcome his fear and anxiety. She took him for walks in the woods, introduced him to her other animals, and showered him with love and affection. Slowly but surely, Charlie began to blossom. He gained weight, his fur became shiny, and his eyes lost their haunted look. He started to play, chasing squirrels in the garden and wrestling with Eleanor's old barn cat. He even began to bark excitedly when Eleanor came home, his tail wagging furiously. Eleanor realized that Charlie was more than just a foster dog. He had become a part of her family, filling the void left by Hope's departure. She decided to make his adoption official, giving him a permanent home and the love he so desperately deserved. Life with Charlie brought a new rhythm to Eleanor's days. He was a constant source of amusement, his playful antics and quirky personality keeping her entertained. He loved to chase butterflies in the meadow, dig holes in the garden, much to Eleanor's dismay, and curl up on her lap while she read in the evenings. However, Charlie's past trauma began to surface in unexpected ways. Loud noises, like thunder or the backfiring of a truck, sent him into a panic. He would tremble uncontrollably, hide under furniture, and refuse to come out for hours. Eleanor did her best to comfort him during these episodes, speaking softly, stroking his fur, and offering him treats. But the fear in his eyes was heartbreaking. Determined to help Charlie overcome his anxieties, Eleanor consulted with a veterinarian specializing in animal behavior. The vet suggested a combination of desensitization therapy and medication to help manage his anxiety. Eleanor diligently followed the vet's recommendations, patiently exposing Charlie to gradually louder sounds and rewarding him for calm behavior. The process was slow and often frustrating. There were days when Charlie seemed to be making progress, only to regress the next day. But Eleanor refused to give up. She knew that with patience and love, Charlie could overcome his fears and live a happy, fulfilling life. One stormy evening, Charlie's anxiety reached a new peak. The thunder boomed, the lightning flashed, and the wind howled outside. Charlie was terrified, shaking uncontrollably and whimpering. Eleanor tried everything she could to soothe him, but nothing seemed to work. In desperation, she remembered a technique the vet had mentioned, creating a safe space for the dog. She quickly gathered some blankets and pillows and created a cozy den under the kitchen table. She coaxed Charlie inside, speaking to him in a calm, reassuring voice. To her surprise, Charlie crawled into the den and settled down. He continued to tremble, but the enclosed space seemed to give him a sense of security. Eleanor sat beside him, stroking his fur and whispering comforting words. As the storm raged outside, Eleanor stayed with Charlie, her presence a calming influence. Gradually, his trembling subsided, and his breathing became more regular. He eventually fell asleep, exhausted but safe in his makeshift den. That night, Eleanor realized that helping Charlie heal was not just about training and medication. It was about providing him with a sense of security, a safe haven where he could feel protected and loved. She vowed to continue to be his anchor, his source of comfort and strength, as he navigated the challenges of his past. The next morning, the storm had passed, and the sun was shining. Charlie emerged from his den, a little shaky but noticeably calmer. Eleanor took him for a walk in the woods, the fresh air and the sounds of nature helping to soothe his frayed nerves. As they walked, Eleanor reflected on the journey they had taken together. She had rescued Charlie from a life of fear and neglect, and he, in turn, had enriched her life in countless ways. He had taught her the true meaning of patience, resilience, and unconditional love. She knew that there would be more challenges ahead, more storms to weather. But she also knew that together, they would face them, their bond stronger than any fear. Eleanor's life, once quiet and solitary, was now filled with unexpected connections. Word of her dedication to Hope and Charlie had spread through the small community, and people began to see her in a new light. Neighbors who had previously exchanged only polite greetings now stopped by with dog treats and stories of their own beloved pets. Children from the nearby elementary school, inspired by Eleanor's kindness, started a Pennies for Puppies campaign to raise money for the local animal shelter. One afternoon, a young woman named Emily knocked on Eleanor's door. Emily introduced herself as a volunteer from a local animal rescue organization. She had heard about Eleanor's work with Hope and Charlie and was impressed by her dedication. Emily invited Eleanor to attend a meeting of the organization, hoping to enlist her help in their efforts to find homes for abandoned animals. Eleanor, initially hesitant to step outside her comfort zone, found herself drawn to the energy and enthusiasm of the group. She attended the meeting and was immediately welcomed into the fold. The members were a diverse group, united by their shared passion for animal welfare. There were students, retirees, business owners, and even a local veterinarian, all working together to make a difference in the lives of animals in need. Eleanor quickly became an active member of the organization, using her experience to help with fundraising events, adoption drives, and community outreach programs. She found a renewed sense of purpose in working with like-minded people, sharing her knowledge and learning from others. One of the organization's initiatives was a Dog Day afternoon event at the local park. The event aimed to raise awareness about animal adoption and provide a fun day out for dogs and their owners. Eleanor volunteered to help organize the event, putting her considerable energy into planning games, securing sponsors, and recruiting volunteers. The day of the event dawned bright and sunny. The park was filled with people and their canine companions, the air buzzing with excitement. There were dog agility courses, costume contests, and even a Picasso painting activity. Eleanor, beaming with pride, watched as families interacted with the adoptable dogs, many of whom had been rescued from similar situations to Hope and Charlie. During the event, Eleanor noticed a young boy sitting alone on a bench, watching the festivities with a wistful expression. She approached him and struck up a conversation. The boy, named Ethan, confided in Eleanor that he had always wanted a dog, but his parents were reluctant due to their busy schedules. Eleanor, touched by Ethan's longing, shared her own experiences with Hope and Charlie, emphasizing the joy and companionship that dogs can bring. She encouraged Ethan to talk to his parents again, offering to help him create a plan to demonstrate his responsibility and commitment to caring for a dog. Weeks later, Eleanor received a heartfelt thank you note from Ethan. His parents had agreed to adopt a dog, and Ethan was overjoyed. He credited Eleanor with helping to make his dream come true. Eleanor, her heart filled with warmth, realized that her impact extended beyond the animals she directly rescued. She was inspiring others to open their hearts and homes to animals in need, creating a ripple effect of compassion throughout the community. Through her involvement with the animal rescue organization, Eleanor had found a new sense of belonging. She was no longer just a woman who loved animals. She was an advocate, a voice for the voiceless, and a beacon of hope for those who had been discarded and forgotten. Just as Eleanor was settling into her new role as a community advocate and enjoying the companionship of Charlie, a shadow from the past resurfaced. One day, while volunteering at the shelter, she received a call that sent a chill down her spine. It was the local animal control officer, informing her that they had received a complaint about a neglected dog at a property in Willow Creek. The description of the property and the dog's owner sent a wave of dread through Eleanor. It was the same place where she had found hope. Eleanor's mind raced back to that grim morning, the sight of Hope chained in the mud, her puppies shivering and vulnerable. The thought that another dog was suffering the same fate filled her with anger and determination. She excused herself from the shelter, her heart pounding, and drove towards Willow Creek with a renewed sense of urgency. As she approached the familiar dirt road, a sense of foreboding washed over her. The dilapidated farmhouse looked even more desolate than before, the paint peeling, the yard overgrown with weeds. She parked her truck and cautiously approached the house, her senses alert. The scene that greeted her was eerily similar to the one she had encountered months ago. A dog, this time a young Labrador retriever, was chained to the same post in the backyard. The chain was even shorter than the one Hope had endured, barely allowing the dog to move. The dog was emaciated, its ribs visible beneath its matted fur. Its eyes were dull and lifeless, its spirit seemingly broken. Eleanor's anger flared. She recognized the owner, a gruff, unkempt man who had barely acknowledged her presence during her previous visit. He emerged from the house, a scowl on his face, and demanded to know what she was doing on his property. Eleanor, no longer the timid woman who had rescued Hope, stood her ground. She confronted the man about the dog's condition, her voice firm and unwavering. She reminded him of the laws against animal cruelty and threatened to report him to the authorities if he didn't surrender the dog. The man, taken aback by Eleanor's assertiveness, tried to bluster and deflect. He claimed the dog was just fine and that she was meddling in his business. But Eleanor refused to back down. She had seen the suffering in the dog's eyes, and she was determined to help. After a tense standoff, the man finally relented, muttering curses under his breath. Eleanor, her heart pounding with relief, approached the dog cautiously. The dog cowered at first, fearful of any human contact. But Eleanor spoke to it softly, offering words of comfort and reassurance. She retrieved the bolt cutters from her truck and, with a sense of satisfaction, severed the chain that had bound the dog. The dog, freed from its confinement, looked at Eleanor with a mixture of confusion and gratitude. Eleanor named the dog Lucky, a symbol of his newfound freedom. She carefully led him to her truck, where she had prepared a bed and a bowl of water. Lucky lapped up the water eagerly, his tail giving a tentative wag. As Eleanor drove away from the desolate farm, she glanced in the rearview mirror. The image of the neglected dog, now replaced with Lucky's hopeful face, filled her with a sense of purpose. She had faced her fears, confronted injustice, and rescued another innocent creature from a life of misery. Back at the farmhouse, Eleanor introduced Lucky to Charlie. The two dogs, both survivors of neglect, sniffed each other cautiously at first. But soon, they were playing in the yard, their joyful barks echoing through the countryside. Eleanor watched them with a smile, her heart filled with contentment. She had come a long way from the quiet, solitary woman she once was. She had found her voice, her purpose, and a community of like-minded people who shared her passion for animal welfare. And in the process, she had discovered a strength and resilience she never knew she possessed. Life at the farmhouse settled into a comfortable routine with the addition of Lucky. He was a gentle giant, eager to please and quick to learn. He thrived under Eleanor's care, his once dull coat now gleaming, his eyes sparkling with life. He and Charlie became inseparable companions, playing fetch in the fields, chasing squirrels in the woods, and sharing cozy naps by the fireplace. Eleanor continued her work with the Animal Rescue Organization, her dedication and experience making her a valuable asset. She organized adoption events, fostered abandoned animals, and even started a Seniors for Seniors program, matching elderly dogs with senior citizens looking for companionship. One day, Eleanor received a call from Margaret, Hope's adoptive mother. Margaret's voice was filled with emotion as she shared some news. She had been diagnosed with a serious illness and was no longer able to care for Hope. She was heartbroken at the thought of parting with her beloved companion, but knew she had to find Hope a new home where she would receive the care and attention she deserved. Eleanor's heart ached for Margaret and for Hope. She immediately offered to take Hope back, assuring Margaret that she would find her a loving, forever home. Margaret was relieved and grateful, knowing that Hope would be in good hands. A few days later, Hope returned to the farmhouse. She was older now, her muzzle flecked with gray, but her eyes still held the same spark of joy and affection. She greeted Eleanor with enthusiastic tail wags and joyful barks, her love and loyalty unwavering. Charlie and Lucky welcomed Hope back into the fold, and the three dogs quickly resumed their playful camaraderie. The farmhouse was once again filled with the sounds of happy barks and playful chases, a testament to the resilience and enduring spirit of these rescued animals. Eleanor, now in her 70s, felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had dedicated her life to helping animals in need, and her efforts had touched the lives of countless creatures, including Hope, Charlie, and Lucky. She had found a community of like-minded people who shared her passion, and she had inspired others to open their hearts and homes to animals in need. One crisp autumn afternoon, Eleanor sat on her porch, watching the leaves fall from the trees. Hope, Charlie, and Lucky were curled up at her feet, their peaceful slumber a symphony of soft snores. Eleanor smiled, content in the knowledge that she had made a difference in their lives. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the countryside, Eleanor reflected on her journey. She had faced challenges and overcome obstacles, but through it all, she had remained true to her compassionate heart. She had learned that even in the face of cruelty and neglect, love and kindness could prevail, and she had discovered that the greatest rewards in life come from giving back, from making a positive impact on the world, one rescued animal at a time. The story of Eleanor, Hope, Charlie, and Lucky is a testament to the transformative power of compassion. It is a reminder that even in the darkest of circumstances, there is always hope, and it is a celebration of the enduring bond between humans and animals, a bond that enriches our lives in countless ways.